Hi everyone. This week we are working on making inferences. So in this lesson, I am going to review how to make inferences, and then I'm going to read a text to you. And while I'm reading that text, I want you to think about the inferences you're making in your brain as we read that text. So first, let's review understanding how to make inferences. If you watched the lesson from Tuesday, you know that an inference is a good guess a person makes by using clues from the text. Okay? People make inferences to figure out more about the characters or events in a text they are reading. The author wants you to know about it, but will not completely tell it to you. So it's up to you as a good reader to infer. Why do readers make inferences? Well, readers make inferences to help you determine a character's feelings, to figure out where characters are, to determine what is happening, to figure out why things happened, predict what will happen next, and draw conclusions about the text. So if you are making inferences when you're reading, you are understanding the text as it's supposed to be understood. You can infer by thinking about the plot and why certain events take place, thinking about personal experiences, thinking about the character's features, thinking about what you already know, thinking about a character's words and or actions, thinking about the character's feelings, thinking about the setting and why it is important, thinking deeply about by using picture, clues, or words. And this is going to be extra important in the text we read after this. Finally, how do you make an inference? Okay, and to make an inference, I want you to use this equation. Think about math equations. This is a reading equation. You're going to use evidence, clues from the text, plus your schema, your background knowledge, to equal a new meaning to make an inference. Okay, so let's read our text. This text is called The Mysteries of Harris Burdick. It's by Chris Van Allsburg. Chris Van Allsburg also wrote the text Two Bad Ants that we read earlier in the school year. So let's read this book. While I'm reading, I want you to make inferences. Archie Smith, boy wonder. A tiny voice asked, "Is he the one?" Whoops, I skipped an important part. Introduction. I first saw the drawings in this book a year ago in the home of a man named Peter Wenders. Though Mr. Wenders is retired now, he once worked for a children's book publisher, choosing the stories and pictures that would be turned into books. 30 years ago, a man called at Peter Wenders' office, introducing himself as Harris Burdick. Mr. Burdick explained that he had written 14 stories and had drawn many pictures for each one. He had brought with him just one drawing from each story to see if Wenders liked his work. Peter Wenders was fascinated by the drawings. He told Burdick he would like to read the stories that went with them as soon as possible. The artist agreed to bring the stories to the next morning. He left the 14 drawings with Wenders. But he did not return the next day, or the day after that. Harris Burdick was never heard from again. Over the years, Wenders tried to figure out who Burdick was and what had happened to him, but he discovered nothing. To this day, Harris Burdick remains a complete mystery. His disappearance is not the only mystery left behind. What were the stories that went with these drawings? There are some clues. Burdick had written a title and caption for each picture. When I told Peter Wenders how difficult it was to look at the drawings and their captions without imagining a story, he smiled and left the room. He returned with a dust-covered cardboard box. Inside were dozens of stories, all inspired by the Burdick drawings. They'd been written years ago by Wender's children and their friends. I spent the rest of my visit reading these stories. They were remarkable, some bizarre, some funny, some downright scary. In the hope that other children will be inspired by them, the Burdick drawings are reproduced here for the first time. So you're going to take a look at each picture and the title and the caption, and you can pause my video and you can maybe infer your own story or infer what's happening in each picture. Make up your own story using the clues in the title and caption and the clues in the picture, the illustration. Here's the first one. Archie Smith, boy wonder. A tiny voice asked, "Is he the one?" Maybe take a look at these little light orbs. See the boy sleeping? What do you think is going on here? Make an inference. Under the rug. 2 weeks passed, and it happened again. Take a look at this illustration carefully. Make an inference. What do you think is going on here? Remember, you can pause my video at any time if you are telling a story out loud to someone or writing something down. A strange day in July. He threw with all his might, but the third stone came skipping back. What in the world is going on here? Make an inference. Missing in Venice. Even with her mighty engine in reverse, the ocean liner was pulled farther and farther into the canal. Can you make an inference about what's going on in this illustration? What's the story behind it? Another place, another time. If there was an answer, he'd find it there. Remember to pause the video if you need time to finish your inference. What is going on in this illustration? What's the story behind it? Uninvited guests. His heart was pounding. He was sure he had seen the doorknob turn. If you look carefully, this door is about the same size as an ice skate, maybe a little bigger. the harp. So it's true, he thought. It's really true. What's your inference for this illustration? Mr. Linden's library. He had warned her about the book. Now it was too late. My first inference looking at this illustration is that the book, the words on the pages come alive if you don't close the book. And that's what this story is about. The 7 chairs. The 5th one ended up in France. So I'd like to infer from this illustration that this is the 5th chair in France, and these are magic chairs, and you can find them all over the world in 7 different places, and they do magical things. The 3rd floor bedroom. It all began when someone left the window open. Look carefully at the wallpaper here and here. Just desert. She lowered the knife and it grew even brighter. Now, this is spelled desert like a dry place that doesn't get a lot of rain, right? Not dessert like something you eat after dinner. So that's an interesting clue to think about. Captain Torrey. He swung his lantern 3 times and slowly the schooner appeared. Remember to pause if you need more time making your inference. Oscar and Alphonsi. She knew it was time to send them back. The caterpillars softly wiggled in her hand, spelling out goodbye. So I can infer from this illustration and the caption and the title that the caterpillars' names are probably Oscar and Alphonsi. And maybe she kept them as pets for a little bit since they're spelling out goodbye, but now it's time to send them back to nature and let them become butterflies. So I use the clues in the illustration. She's looking at them kind of sadly. She's holding them nice and gently. And I use the clues in the title and the caption here. The house on Maple Street. It was a perfect liftoff. What can you infer is going on in this illustration? And that is the last illustration of this text. I hope you guys enjoyed using your imaginations and inferring what those stories were supposed to be about in the mystery